This is a question I get a lot. How to avoid confusion when you're learning languages that are very similar to each other, like Spanish and Portuguese, Spanish and Italian, Portuguese and French, and so on. All these belong to the Romance language family. They all come from Latin. You would have the same problem if you try to learn a bunch of different Slavic languages or Germanic languages and so on and so forth. A lot of people end up confusing the languages and using pronunciation of one language in the other, or vocabulary or grammar from one language in the other, and so on. The solution to this is pretty simple. We need to do a lot of listening in all languages. Yeah, this is really important, and there's no way around it. You need to do your listening. But the thing I'm going to show you here is the language islands, how to use them to avoid confusion. So let's say you learn in Spanish and your Spanish is pretty good, but you also want to learn Portuguese because you're going to go to Brazil, or you want to learn Italian or whatever. You want to learn all of them. What you would do is take your language islands, so your groups of sentences for specific situations that you've prepared, and you translate them into all languages that you want to learn. Yeah, this is a list of basic sentences that I use for very basic conversation, talking about myself, where I'm from, etc. You should create something. You get this list in the natural language learning course, by the way. There's and more language islands for travel and so on. So you take them and you translate them, the same sentences, into all languages, and then first we read the whole list aloud several times. You should be learning the pronunciation by doing all the other exercises, the listening and repeating, um, all the listening, the reading, do all the other exercises, right? This here, I'm assuming you already understand the language pretty well. You know the vocab. You're just having trouble not confusing the languages, all right? So what you should do is translate into the language mentally. Say the words aloud. So you hide this. Let's start with Spanish. Hello, hola. That's correct. How is it in Portuguese? Hola as well. Correct. Ciao in Italian. Correct. Bonjour in French. And I'm correct. Or maybe you can just, if your willpower is strong enough, you can simply avoid looking here so that you don't have to move the thing. Um, or you could use your, yeah, I guess you could use a keyboard as well if you separate them enough, right? Yeah, you could. So basically, good morning, buenos días, bon dia, buongiorno, and so on. And you do that with every sentence. Yeah, I'm assuming here you've already learned all this stuff. You're able to say it, you're just mixing them in different languages. So, how do I say it in all four languages? And you try to say the thing in all four languages. It's me llamo Mikel, blah, blah, blah. And I say it in all four languages. Then, nice to meet you, I say it in all four languages. Whatever comes next. Where you're from, I say it in all four languages. And well, I think the best way to do it would be paragraph by paragraph. So this is one language island. This is another one. Yeah. Um, I guess that would make this a language archipelago, right? Okay. Anyway, um, you do it with a group of sentences, so a language island. So you say this, you say hello in all four languages, good morning in all four languages, good evening in all four languages. This is much easier if you're just doing it with two, let's say Portuguese and Spanish, for simplicity's sake. So you do say it in Portuguese and Spanish, you say it in Portuguese and Spanish, Portuguese and Spanish, and so on and so forth. Whole thing. Then you repeat, but this time you say the whole thing only in Spanish, and then the whole thing only in Portuguese. And each time you check the sentences that you're saying them right. Yeah? And you'll very quickly stop making most of the mistakes. Another version would be to do it simply by looking at this. and try to say this in Portuguese. Yeah, translate from Spanish into Portuguese or from Portuguese into Spanish. You look at the sentences in one language. This is pretty good because you get to see the differences between the languages, right? Mi nombre es Miquel. Meu nome é Miquel. Encantado de conocerlo. Prazer em conhecê-lo. ¿Cuál es su nombre? ¿Cómo te llamas? Buenas noches. Buenas noite. You can do it a few times by reading them aloud. Yeah. Bom dia. And then you try to recall. Buenos días. Bom dia. Yeah, correct. Buenas noches. Buenas noite. Correct. 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 Yeah. That's another thing. If you switch from language to language quickly, sometimes I end up saying what's I still have a Spanish accent or a weird Arnold type accent when I speak English, but um, from when I lived in Austria, I think. But if I switch back and forth, my accent gets worse because it's hard to go from one language's accent to the other quickly. It happens, yeah. But this kind of exercise will help you. Actually, I should do it way more than I do. I just don't have the time these days. Um, this type of exercise helps you work on your accent as well. Yeah, because they might look similar, but pronunciation is very different. Yeah, encantado de conocerlo, placer en conocerlo, and obviously my Spanish is gonna be better pronunciation than Portuguese. But yeah, buenos días, bom dia. They do like a dia thing here, at least in Brazil. Boa noite, buenas noches. Yeah, you try to do it. You deliberately try to uh, do it the best as possible with the accent, and you do that. You keep doing it with every language. I recommend doing this with two at first, and then you can do it with more if you're trying to learn four or five. One last thing: if this is too hard, because then later, like where you're from, and then we're talking about proper. It's a small region in the north of Spain, in the south of France. This is like uma pequena região no norte da Espanha e no sul de França. This is long. Yeah? Falamos basco, uma das línguas mais antigas da Europa. These are longer sentences. It's much more difficult. If this is too hard, doing it with full-on language islands from the beginning, with complete sentences, you can do the same thing with vocabulary lists. You take the list, the common word lists that we've got in the course, and after associating them, visualize them, associate them, you memorize them like that, you do active recall. Yeah, so if you've got hello, hola, hola, and if it's another language, okay, ciao, bonjour, and you try to do it with single words from the list. And once you can do that, then you do it with these sentences. And that's it. Like I said in the beginning, this is going to be very helpful, but you need to combine it with lots of listening practice. Best way to get good at both comprehension and speaking is doing a lot of listening. If you listen to all languages you're learning regularly, you'll learn the differences in pronunciation, and your speaking will improve, your pronunciation will improve, and you also will learn different expressions and the grammar in context and all that, and you'll stop making so many mistakes and confusing the languages. So listening to all languages that you're learning regularly, listening to them regularly, to all the languages, very important. Combine this with listening, right? Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.